Welcome to The Glass Box, a podcast for revolutionaries to share their voices and causes. Here, we cover a range of topics and explore the limitations that hold us back, from personal challenges to societal issues, all with the intention to create an impact that ripples out and changes the world. Joining me this week is Jordan Hutchison, a women's mentor and activator, trauma-informed body image specialist, embodiment coach, boudoir and branding photographer, and podcast host. Jordan helps women rise to their power because she knows that when we connect deeper to our inner world, our bodies, our desires, we become the most authentic, empowered, magnetic versions of ourselves. Without further ado, let's dive in. Hello, Miss Thing.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm excellent. I was dancing around before jumping on here.
Yes.
And I went to Target the other day just randomly.
Mhm.
And I bought like a sexy little lingerie thing. I'm like, I'm gonna
Yes.
wear this for Jordan.
Yes. How perfect.
Right? But yeah, like I feel like this, honestly, I might just use all of this from the beginning because I feel like this is gonna be more of a like, we're just chatting. So I just want to jump right in. Tell us how you got to where you are now.
Mm. Well, how much time do we have? Hello everyone. I'm Jordan, and yeah, I am a boudoir photographer, women's coach. I started, I guess, let's take this way back. So in my early 20s, I was in a very toxic relationship. This person cheated on me for um, basically the entirety of our relationships, which was about 5 years. And I always kind of knew, but I could never prove it. And I would confront him, I would confront the women, there were multiple, and they all held to this lie and, gaslit me and in a way made me believe that I was making this up, that I was like looking for something, you know, when there wasn't anything. And I was too afraid to, because it was my first love, first everything kind of. He took my virginity, we went through a lot of traumas together, and we had been friends since high school. And so there was this security with him, even though it wasn't stable and even though it was unfaithful. And there were just so many layers to it, but there was security in that because that's what I had known for so long, right? So I was afraid to leave him because I didn't know what was going to come next. And I was more afraid of the unknown than staying with him and being unhappy, right? Finally, I, took my power back after 5 years of some just nonsense, and because you can only take so much, and broke up with him. I was about 23 at that point, and then from there I was in photography school. During this relationship, I got my associates in photography and digital imagery from a tech school in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And so I really threw myself into that when we broke up. And then there was a point from my middle 20s, in my mid 20s, where I call it free falling, where I was just so chewed up and spit out from this relationship where I had really toxic patterns myself. I was in really just unhealthy cycles, both with people, friends, and partners, and definitely myself. I didn't trust anybody. My relationship wounds, even with women, were very severed just because so many of them lied to me, including some of my friends who knew about it. And so I kind of stopped photography during that time because I was just in this black hole of processing, but not really processing, distracting. And there came a point when I was 27 where I was on a beach in Thailand with my best friend slash roommate at the time, and our lease was coming to an end. She was moving to a different city, and I was just kind of face to face with myself for the first time in a long time of, what are you doing? Like, what's happening here? You're not doing anything healthy for yourself, productive, meaningful. And so that was when I really took a hard look and said, okay, something needs to shift. And for me, that shift was moving to Denver, Colorado, which is where I am now. And I threw myself into wedding photography. Colorado, the Rocky Mountains, it's beautiful here. And wedding photography is a very good introduction for photographers who don't really know what they want to do, just because it's a really stable market and there's always demand, and it's a great way to learn and grow your craft. And so I did that for 3 years, and I hated it. I wanted something more intimate. I wanted something more impactful. And that's not to say a wedding is not impactful, but for me, I wanted it to be a little bit more meaningful. And I'd heard about boudoir for a long time, but I'd never really dove into it. And so I did my last wedding in the winter of 2019, and I told myself, okay, we're no more weddings. We're gonna branch out. And then 2020 happened and the world shut down. So that was a pretty good sign of like, okay, we're done with weddings. And I started with boudoir, and it was absolutely life-changing. And at the time, I was also in the process of I was in recovery for an eating disorder. And I had really started my journey back to self, back to me. And boudoir helped me heal those parts of me. Not fully, but was definitely a huge catalyst, because I saw these women, my clients coming in, and they were so vulnerable and so open and so raw with every aspect of themselves. And they helped me really be able to tap into that with myself. And I mean, from there, it just kind of took off. And I love boudoir so much because it's profound, and it's just a really beautiful space to be authentically you, especially in a world where everything is a trend and always changing, and there's so many limitations and restrictions and expectations on women and their bodies, and everything that we do is under a microscope. And in my space, in my studio, in front of my lens, these women can just be them. And I think it's so fucking powerful. And how we got to embodiment coaching and empowerment coaching through that was I started having so many clients tell me, I need to book another session with you so I can feel powerful again. And then my question in turn was, well, how can we get it to where you can feel powerful every day versus just a photo shoot?
Yeah.
Because then my whole world started changing. So I'm like, wow, boudoir is so amazing, but it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable if you don't have the tools to regulate your nervous system, to show up in your body every single day, whether that's resting, moving, it's listening and learning how to communicate with your body and yourself. And all of these things play into the overall empowerment and confidence that we experience. And so it's been super, just extremely rewarding to be able to bring women into reclaiming their own power, because we've been denied from it for so long.
I love how one of my questions on the questionnaire is what lights you up. And like, I don't even need to read the answer. Like, people listening to you are going to be able to hear that fire like crackling in you. And like me just watching you, like, good Lord, girl, you're powerful as fuck. I love it.
Thank you. It took a lot of, I mean, it takes work. It really does. And some people will say, will counter, well, you've always been this way. And it's like, well, for a long time, it was ego based. And for a long time, it wasn't authentic, especially when I was deep in my eating disorder days and um, not feeling secure within myself. It was very much doing things for attention. But now it's, I mean, you can see and you can feel it, hopefully, the shift of when someone's operating from the ego versus the heart or the soul. And you just show up differently because there's just an inner knowing, like, yeah, I am the shit. Yeah, I am beautiful. Yeah, I am powerful. And I want every woman to feel that way. I want every human to feel that way, not just women, but yeah, I just think it's a birthright that you should always feel that way. And, I always say I help women reclaim their power because I'm not here to give you power. I'm not here to give you permission to be powerful. You have that in you. You've always operated with that, but we've been restricted for so long.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that you bring up the, showing up from the ego versus the heart, because it can look very similar.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've been reflecting a lot on that this past week, how now that I've reclaimed my own power, I can look back at myself like 9 years ago, where I probably looked physically somewhat similar, but that was very ego driven. And I recognize that now. Like, I was showing up how I thought people wanted to see me
Mm-hmm.
as a powerful woman. Like, people are all for powerful women as long as it's a certain kind of powerful woman.
Yeah.
How, as women, then, do we distinguish that difference and make that shift?
Mm. I think it really comes down to intention. And when you start noticing your intention, your reasoning, your thought process behind moving certain ways or showing up certain ways or even thinking certain ways, that's when everything shifts because you start having the intention of I'm going to I'm going to wear this piece of clothing because I feel good in it versus I'm going to wear this piece of clothing so that somebody notices me or I get a reaction from somebody this way. And I think a lot of ego maneuvers happen because we are still consumed with the thought of what others think and maybe also needing approval, seeking validation. When you start moving differently with different intentions, you then start wanting the approval from yourself. You then start wanting the validation from yourself. You start giving yourself the validation. And then the intention behind your action starts to shift to being more aligned with who you are as a person and how you want to authentically express and represent yourself and show up in moments and hold space for people and hold space for yourself
Mhm.
because you're not constantly thinking about the outside world.
Right. I love that shift to the internal validation instead of the external validation.
Mm-hmm. I mean, think about it. We live in a culture that is so big on validation. Social media is just one big validation, right? If you don't get the likes, if you don't get the comments, if your reel doesn't go viral, if you don't get the instant gratification, then we're thought to be what? Less than, not worthy. Um, I mean, it's all just a giant mind fuck of proving ourselves and trying to be better than the rest and, trying to be the top. And we forget how to just be with ourselves and exist.
I like that you brought up like being on the top too,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like a lot of people right now are vying for power, and they're vying for power over others.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly where I was going with that, but like it's just that is right up in the forefront of my mind right now. And something you said tweaked that interest.
I mean, yeah, we live in the age of the influencer, right? And everybody wants to have the most followers. Everyone wants to have all these brand deals. Everyone wants to have, this, that, and the other thing. And it almost, it's not almost, it is, at least for me, just so ingenuine because everyone's just little carbon copies of each other. And it is very ego based being an influencer because you're trying to appeal to the masses. You're not really, I mean, most of them aren't offering anything that's substantial. It's very surface level. It's very fast fashion. It's very ever changing trends. And it's hard to land and to ground into that because it's constantly moving, it's constantly shifting. There's not a lot of identity there.
Mm. How have you surrendered to that? Like, I feel like when I look at your social media and how you're showing up, you're very genuine and authentic, which I freaking love. Did you like surrender control to like universe, I guess I'm trying to get to, if that makes sense?
Like in the way I show up and how I express.
Maybe I don't know where I'm going with this anymore.
Social media and I have a very love-hate relationship because I feel like anything I post gets flagged
Mm.
because boudoir is considered a violation, a community guideline um, violation, and even certain words get flagged. A lot of people in my world, coaches and doing this work, we can't say words like sexual or sensual or tantra or pleasure, desire. And so I've had to surrender in just what I can control. And I'm going to continue to tweak my message so that I can still be heard and received, but I'm not going to quit or give in to the meta of it all. Because I think that's just another way that women are silenced. And the man's viewpoint is their narrative is pushed, and it's just another way to control and to dictate what we can and can't say. And so yeah, I have had to surrender in that aspect of just knowing what's worth the fight. And if they don't want me to say certain words, I'll find a way to say it without saying it. But I've also had to surrender to just the idea that not all women are ready to receive
Mm.
my message. And it could be triggering for some. But I know that when it's ready to land for them, it will. And I've found that, I've had clients where we've worked together extensively for 6 months with coaching. And then as soon as our container ends, they unfollow me on social media because maybe they need a break. Maybe they need time for integration, but maybe also some of the things that I say could be triggering for them as they continue to move through some things. So having to surrender to that aspect of when it's right, it's right. And if it doesn't land for them, then that's okay. And you send them off and you wish them well and hope that one day they'll find their way back and it'll land for them.
How have you, when those sorts of situations happen? Because I feel like a lot of people are kind of worrying about that right now, right? Like, okay, me stepping up in my power and using my voice is it's not going to land for some people, and they're going to be pushed away or forced out or choose, to unfollow me, X, Y, and Z. How have you, if you've had to, gotten over any sort of pushback on yourself to then kind of dial it back?
I tried to dial it back for a while, but then I found that I was constantly editing the way I wanted to communicate just to appease one person versus just speaking for myself. And I found that that's just not authentic. And that pleads or that feeds into the validation, right, from others of, well, I need this message to land for them. So I'm going to tweak it so that it lands for them. But then it, leaves out another group of people. And I've just found that I'm going to put out what I want to put out. I'm going to create what I want to create, and it will land for who it lands for. But the ultimate goal here is that I'm happy with the way that I'm showing up and the message that I'm putting out there. And that to me is more authentic than anything. And that will attract the right people for my world who want to go deeper and go inward and really meet themselves on a level that they've never experienced before.
I love that. Now, when we talk about impact, because I kind of want to shift a little bit to current events, how does the impact that you are making as a coach and like as a boudoir photographer create an impact that ripples out beyond that? And how can it, like, how does it reflect what's going on in the world?
I mean, strong women empower strong women, right? And it's contagious and it can't help but ripple because like there's a whole movement happening within the boudoir realm, within the coaching realm of women who are waking up, of women who are no longer taking bullshit from anything or anyone in their life, from women who are questioning the way things are currently operating and dreaming and expanding into ways that can serve us as a collective better. I mean, there's no way for it to be a bad thing because it is enforcing stronger beliefs. It's enforcing stronger opinions. It's enforcing louder opinions. It's giving women the permission that they didn't need, but some just need to hear it. It's giving them the validation that their word matters, that their thought matters, that their bodies matter, and they are not to be governed. And I think with especially the feminine collective, we see the world as one big table, one big opportunity, one big collective, again, to just sit together, hear each other, listen, speak, build, and have more unison together because we know that together we can get things done. We know that together we can heal, but we live in a world where it's very much one voice over others versus collective voices. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so I think, it's especially the younger generation, like they're loud as fuck. And I love that. But for us, millennials, sometimes we need a little bit more. We need a little bit more. I think that's just it. We grew up in a weird time where we were silenced and we don't really know how to stand up for ourselves and speak and use our voice. And I think that boudoir and just coaching in general, empowerment, is a really great tool to start using that voice.
Yeah. I love how you brought up millennials because I feel like, we we are that bridge right now.
Hmm.
And I think it is time for us to step the fuck up and start moving,
Hmm.
because even our parents' generation, like my parents are liberal-ish. Like they're more accepting and everything, but I still see how they are being shut down by their parents and they're
Yeah.
still worried about that. So it's like you start seeing this ancestral trauma,
Mm.
how that plays out. And I feel like, our generation is the one that's really recognizing that and starting to heal it and bridge the older generations with the younger ones, because it goes in lines with when social media and the internet blew up.
Hmm.
We were kids, like we grew up without that, and then all of a sudden we had it. So we're this bridge between the two, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because our parents' generation, they didn't have a voice at all, right? They were very much just in line with the generation before them. And then Gen Z is very much loud and proud, and they have the platforms to spread the message and the means to do so. And yeah, we're kind of in the middle of, okay, what step do we take next?
Yeah. What do you think we do next?
Mm. I think I'm right in line with you where we just need to have more conversations and we just need to keep spreading the awareness. And I think, yeah, it's not being silent ultimately, because that's when we lose and we really do ourselves a disservice. Even when we think it's a small thing, even when we think it won't matter, even when we think nobody wants to hear it, there's always someone listening, wanting to hold space for you. There's always someone who is open to hearing a different way of being. And that's, I think, the most beautiful of conversations is having a conversation with someone that you least expect, who you think we're not going to have anything in common with, and then you have an understanding.
Right. Yeah, I've always had a lot of really interesting conversations, especially lately with people where I'm like, I don't expect that from you, but I like where this is going.
Mm-hmm.
I think if anything, it just shows that you can't know who someone is just by what they look like on the outside, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the I have so many favorite parts, but that's one of my favorite parts of boudoir is the hair and makeup process, because the client comes in, it's me and my hair and makeup artist, who's a dear friend of mine, and it's just a great time to learn about each other, learn the background of my client, learn why they're here, what brought them there. We talk a lot about sometimes past relationships or ways that you've been done wrong, or how you've overcome certain body image limitations or setbacks or challenges, right? And it's a beautiful reminder that we're all more alike than we think. And especially as women, we all go through a lot of the same struggles silently. I was just having a conversation with someone in my DMs yesterday who's interested about boudoir, and so we were kind of chatting, and I said, what makes you curious about wanting to do boudoir? And she said, I want to feel confident and I want to not be insecure about my body flaws.
Mm.
And so then I asked her, I'm like, what does confidence mean to you? And she said, confidence means loving my stomach area with my C-section scars and my scars from my hysterectomy. And confidence means being told that I'm beautiful by my husband more. So then I said to her, what would it feel like if you then also told yourself that you're beautiful? You know, why does it just need to come from your husband? And then I said to her, it's interesting how you mentioned, you know, your stomach area and that being an insecurity for you, because most women think that that's or have that as an insecurity on their body, right? Because we've been told that it has to be stick thin, it can't have any curves, there can't be any, you know, lumps or bumps or wiggles or jiggles or, you know, loose skin at all. And women don't talk about that enough, how we all have that same insecurity because social media and today's culture and, you know, the diet industry and media in general has told us that we need to be insecure about this area. And so I think that just feeds into the collective at large is if we start talking about these things that we think are small, we realize that it's actually a pretty big common denominator between a lot of people. And the more we talk about it and bring it into the light, the less we're going to feel insecure about it and the less we're going to feel less than because of it.
Right. You are so wise. I'm just sitting here like, yes. Give me the knowledge. Let me bask in your wisdom. Like, I love it.
I mean, it's body image is such a, every woman has body image struggles, whether no matter what size you are, it does not matter. And every woman has their own struggles. Every person, I'm pretty freaking sure, no matter what gender you identify with, everyone has their struggles. And it's putting people on a pedestal that they're better or they have a better body or whatever that creates this divide, that creates this frenzy within social media. That's how fucking the diet industry continues to thrive because they're constantly putting people on pedestals when we have no idea what their internal world is like. We're just doing it based off of prejudice, based off how people look. And it's just creating this mass disruption when we could be having so much more unity and so much more cohesion and so much more just sacred space for one another. But instead we're, you know, women in particular, you look at any pop star, you know, growing up, they're battled, they're put against each other just because they're women and they're strong. They must be enemies. They can't be friends, you know? It's this whole narrative that we have to be rivals with each other.
Yeah. And if we feel confident in ourselves, we're the bad guy.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. We're narcissistic. We're vain. You know, we're looking for attention. It's like, I'm just living my fucking life,
Yeah.
actually. You don't have to pay attention if you don't want to. I could care less. It's not going to affect me. You're not going to dictate how I show up for myself.
I think that's a fascinating thing that I've realized on my healing journey is, you know, I've battled with eating disorders my entire life as well. I made a post a while ago where I think it was 2019, got into a car accident and I went from being my lowest weight to my highest weight in the span of like 6 months. And like, just, it's always been a roller coaster, right? And I realized that from the time I was a kid until very recently, no matter where I was on that roller coaster, even if there was something about myself that I liked, I was like, "Oh no, you can't like that because look at her. Like she's worse than you." and you can't put her down. So like you need to not feel good about yourself. And it's fucking exhausting.
Absolutely.
Like, and then it's fascinating too when you start doing the work to heal yourself and you start to look in the mirror and realize, okay, that's something that I didn't like before, but I actually like that now. Like, that's fucking gorgeous. And you start
Hmm.
loving on yourself, you do still see and recognize how other people might feel small in your presence, but then you use that power to lift them up instead of bringing yourself down.
Yeah, absolutely. I've dealt with that my whole life of people feeling small around me or intimidated is a word I get often.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, really until last year, kept apologizing for that. And I kept because I never want anyone to feel that way around me. But instead of I would meet them with, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I never want you to feel that way. Like that wasn't my intention," versus just owning that this is who I am. And instead of making you feel intimidated, how can I help you rise to the level that I'm at of just being secure and strong? And I'm a person that takes no bullshit. I'm a very straight shooter, and I've always been that way. And I can't help how people receive me. I can only help how people feel around me, right? So you can be intimidated. That's fine. I no longer am going to apologize for that, but instead I'm going to help show you, hopefully, how you can not get to my level, but like how you can start showing up for yourself to hopefully feel that way too.
You are so powerful. I know I've said it before, but like, girl, I love it. I'm obsessed. Oh, it's like I know we're starting to wrap up. This like time goes so quickly.
I know. We'll just have to do a part two.
Exactly. Like part two coming up for sure. But before we do like the actual wrap up, I want to hear a bit about your big vision, whatever, like, I know, like, I have a big vision that I'm not going public with yet. Like, it's still, I'm nurturing that baby.
Yeah.
But, like, where do you see your impact going?
Mm, global baby.
Yeah. Fucking empire.
I It's kind of crazy how things work because I just put it out into the universe a couple weeks ago that I really want to start photographing more women's circles, right? Events, retreats, breath work, anything empowering, healing related. I want to be a part of it. I want to uh, gravitate my photo services that way. And I have two events coming up that I'm photographing. And I also know that I'm going to be creating my own in-person events. Not photography related, but very much just dropping into the body and giving yourself permission to show up and to feel and to be and to express. And from there, taking that international and hosting retreats of just helping women come home to themselves and remembering who the fuck they are and just tapping into that birthright of power that we all have.
Perfect. Mic drop. It's like, if I knew how to take this off of the thing, I would actually do it, but I don't want to break anything.
I love it.
Yes. All right. So, as you're manifesting that and you are building your empire, until that happens, how can people work with you? Where can they find you?
Mm. I mostly live on Instagram. You can find me at It's Jordan Hutchison, Hutchison. And from there, you can find my website. I have 6 dates available for Boudoir for the remainder of 2024, which is amazing.
Only 6?
I know, yeah.
Booking up.
And I also take clients for branding, photography, and I'm creating a membership called Inner Circle for women who want to be in community, sisterhood, and continue to get to know themselves. So stay tuned for more info on that. I don't have a launch date yet, but she's brewing in the cauldron.
I'm so excited. Like, I am so excited to see what you create. It's gonna be so good. I know it. It's gonna be amazing.
I feel pretty like this year I just turned 33 and I don't know if it's because I love odd numbers. 33 is magical, threes in general. This year's about to blow up for me. I just know it. So
No, like I can feel that for you. Like something is shifting, like good things are coming for you, and it's gonna be so fun to witness how
thank you.
it's gonna be beautiful. I'm
Thank
so
you.
excited.
Yeah. It's gonna be magical. I can't wait.
And that's it. Thank you so much for joining us for this conversation on the glass box. If you'd like to reach out to either Jordan or myself, you can find our contact information in the show notes. And I will catch you next time. Bye.